Thanks for watching today, the behind the scenes live stream. The show is starting soon. Here we go. Get ready. Hey, it's Justin Barkley, and the show, the behind the scenes live stream, is starting soon. We bring you all of the action behind the scenes of the radio show and the after show podcast, and all of it from right here. Don't go anywhere. We're starting soon. TikTok, here we go. The time is ticking away. The show about to start soon. Thanks for joining us. In the meantime, have some fun. Jump in the chat and say hi. Chat with folks who are from all over the state of Michigan and the country, if not the world. We have folks listening in Australia, of all places, and say hey. Even in the 51st state of Canada. It's incredible what's happening right now. Jump in the chat and say hi. We're starting live in just moments. Hey, it's Justin. The behind the scenes live stream is about ready to kick off, and we start shortly. But first, let's say thanks to the folks who make this program possible every single day. The folks at My Patriot Supply. Get ready, no matter what we see. The craziness in the news these days, the attacks from terrorists, drones flying in the skies, and all the insanity every single day. It's enough to make you think. You better be prepared. You better be ready. You can get prepared when you go to getpreparedwithjustin.com. Go to getpreparedwithjustin.com to stock up on all kinds of great things. Food, supplies, everything you need to make sure that your family is safe and ready no matter what comes. Prepare like it all depends on you. Pray like it all depends on God. The show is starting soon, thanks to the folks at My Patriot Supply. We're back in just moments, right here, the behind-the-scenes live stream. Hey, it's Justin. The show is about ready to start. First, let's say thanks to the folks who make this program possible every day. Missy and the crew at My Pure Health Solutions. Down 40 pounds in 40 days. You know, health has become a major focus, and I think especially for you and a lot of other folks.
Rapids. We're talking about what matters most to you in West Michigan. Join the conversation now at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on Wood Radio.
I don't know. Did you see it here? I didn't. I've seen videos. Looks mostly like it was in the southeast. But a massive fireball shooting across the sky. The details on that and what folks are looking for today in a particular area. We're going to give you the details on that. Fireworks in D.C. And, of course, with the Supreme Court rulings coming down, the latest, maybe even more today as we're on the air. We'll have updates for you there. Another big win and a working weekend in Washington. The details all coming up.
News, weather, and traffic. And the biggest stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now, today's Big Three.
And the stories that matter most, you're going to talk about these around a water cooling dinner table, no matter where you are. Our stories. Powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. Dave Galloway and the team working to help you whether you want to buy, refi, home, equity line of credit. Custom solutions for every individual at HHMLending.com. They're faster, better than the big banks. We've used them, and we've saved thousands each time, actually. We bought a home, refinanced it, got a home equity line of credit to cut down some credit card debt. And I tell you, these folks will treat you right.
Number one.
It's a working weekend. Senators at the Capitol trying to figure out how to pass the one big, beautiful bill. President really wants to get it done yesterday, highlighting a conversation there at the White House with some of the folks that he had, and talking about promises made, promises kept. We're talking about tax cuts. You're talking about all kinds of great things inside of that, but it's hitting some snags in the Senate.
Today I signed this bill into law. Almost every major promise made in the 2024 campaign already will have become a promise kept, and that's very important. Promises made, promises kept.
President Trump at the White House yesterday. More on that. We're going to dig into the conversation coming up right here.
Number two.
If you saw it, maybe you live in the Southeast, you're listening to this program, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you download your podcast, you saw something unusual. A daytime fireball, possibly dropped by a meteor, they say. I don't know what. It is kind of wild to watch this stuff coming through the sky, especially that time of the day was broad daylight. It actually created a sonic boom. Now folks are looking for whatever that was that fell from the sky.
Number 3.
Big win for the Supreme Court yesterday, and of course for conservatives. Justices ruling that South Carolina, states like it, can ban Medicaid funds for people like Planned Parenthood. The Supreme Court's term is winding down today. We expect to hear more decisions, 6 major cases among them. President Trump's challenge over an executive order to restrict birthright citizenship, the move tied to other federal judges can actually issue nationwide injunctions. This is a big issue we've had. One district judge will issue an injunction that will affect everybody throughout the rest of the country. It's just crazy. That and more. And we'll break it down coming up this morning right here. Plus, it's a free-for-all Friday, which means you can hop on the phone and join the program at any time. We'd love to hear from you. Just dial us up as we speak on the phone line.
Call Justin now at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
You got the iHeartRadio app. All you have to do is click that little microphone button. If you're listening live, right next to the play button, that's going to give you the ability to leave us a little talkback message. It's almost like a little voicemail. We'll play them on the air if we get some good ones. Now, that part is up to you. Speaking of good ones, our good friend, Kyle Olson from the Midwesterner, Midwesterner.news, joining us now with the latest big busy week, not just throughout the country and the world, Kyle, but also here in Michigan as things have been buzzing along. You've all been covering it all with the Midwesterner. Thanks for taking the time to be here with us today.
Happy to. Good morning.
So, hearing after hearing, let's start with Benson this week. Oh, man, this was something to see the Secretary of State. And, some interesting things happened. She was caught doing something kind of interesting that Midwesterner covered. I thought that was kind of funny. But also busted Rep. Cara in a moment there with Secretary of State Benson as it calls her out on a few things.
My last question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Sure. Secretary Benson, if you were to apologize for anything to the people of Michigan, and I'm not perfect either, but if you had the choice to apologize for one thing, either the rollout of your campaign for governor from the taxpayer-funded building, this Mitten disaster that we've had with the rollout here, or the fact that you have more unfavorable election-related losses than any other Secretary of State recorded in Michigan's history, which one would you apologize for?
I mean, to me, in this era of misinformation, I think we all have to recognize that we've got to do more to ensure citizens have access to accurate information about their leaders and their elected officials. And that is specifically what Mitten and all of our work to increase the transparency of government is designed to do.
She, not so transparent there. She says that's her goal. The most lawless Secretary of State in the history of this state. What do you make of that there, Kyle Olson?
Well, obviously it was sort of a gotcha.
Yeah.
But, I think it's important for all elected officials to have some self-reflection and admit when they make mistakes. And she's made a lot of mistakes, either intentionally or through incompetence. So whether it is how she's interpreted election laws and the guidance that she's given to clerks incorrectly and illegally, to the point where courts have intervened, or it is how she's botched this transparency website system, and she now is working with that company to try and fix what's going on. They're saying it could be in July. She has said that she's going to be very upset if it's not fixed in July. I think there's a lot that she has to atone for. But the fact that she sort of is very defiant about that and refuses to acknowledge any sort of mistake, I think is very telling.
I think you got to watch out for those folks. They've got this really locked down when they do job interviews. And by the way, folks, don't get it twisted. That's a job interview that's taking place right there. or an opportunity for one, that's for sure. She doesn't. She's not qualified for the job she currently holds, and yet she wants to run for governor. I say she's completely unqualified. The point here is they'll ask in job interviews, hey, what's one of the biggest, what's one of those biggest mistakes or a mistake you made that you really learned from? Or they'll ask that question in a job interview, and the answer they get tells them everything. In other words, if somebody really comes clean and says, there was one time I did this, and gosh, it was like the worst thing that I could have done, but I really learned from it. It's made me a better person, and boy, you bet I'll never do that again. And this is that. This is how I learned. That's somebody who, as you said, is introspective. They're not full of pride. They're not full of hubris. They know, okay, I'm gonna screw up every now and then, but I'm gonna do my best to make sure I get it right. I'll admit it when I get it wrong. She didn't do that. She did what some of these people do, which is they don't want to look bad in front of the job interviewer, so they don't even admit fault about anything. And they have a hard time coming up with something that they did wrong. What did she do? She pointed the finger. She pointed the finger at everybody else, you, me, and everyone else. The transparency, it's our fault because we're not delivering the line that she wants, the propaganda about what really happened. Now we know. Let's go back to those elections that she oversaw, specifically in 2020. We're learning every day. In fact, this is a subject, part of it, of a conversation. We had podcast dropping this weekend with Ryan Kelly, one of the guys that was targeted. You remember during the 22 election, a guy running for governor, he's out there. He's at the Capitol in 2020, and of course in January 2021, I guess it was January 6th. And we're finding out the reason they went to the Capitol, these people, because there were things that they saw that was wrong. They had issues, right? They just wanted to get these things fixed and say, why? What about this? What about that? Well, now we're learning the FBI saying, hey, China was involved. They were involved. They were trying to print fake ballots. They were trying to print fake IDs. And we find out the FBI was trying to cover all of that up. So, we've got major issues in these elections that she's overseen, and she's been part of it since day one. And yet she doesn't want to admit it.
Well, and one of the major cruxes of what's going on in the State House right now is the Election Integrity Committee wants to make sure that the guidance that Benson, Secretary of State, is giving to local clerks on how to handle ballots, how to count ballots, et cetera, is within the law. And so there are about 5,000 local clerks who have received this guidance, which is in the form of a booklet. And the House Election Integrity Committee has asked for a copy of that from the Secretary of State, and she refuses to give it to them. And to the point where they have subpoenaed it, and she is refusing to comply with the subpoena. So I guess, of course, the question is, what is there to hide? Why are you hiding this? If this is guidance that you are giving to clerks, and by the way, it's from the 2024 election, so it's not. I mean, we're not currently in this election, but she is claiming that she can't do that because of security. But the question is, what exactly are you hiding? Because this is a public document. It went out to 5,000 people, and she won't answer that.
Again, transparency. And she wants to be the governor. Of course, she'll tell us everything we need to know when she becomes governor. But now she can't really get into all that. Hey,
and that's the thing here, is that her campaign is premised on two things: one, transparency, and two, that she has done such a great job as Secretary of State.
Yeah.
She's improved elections, she's improved customer service, et cetera, that she should be in charge of the entire state government.
Yeah.
So that's how she's framed her campaign. Yeah. And so that's how we should be scrutinizing her record and what she wants to do.
Kyle Olson, the Midwesterner, themidwesterner.news. More fireworks in Lansing yesterday. In fact, Ted Nugent, Uncle Ted, or was it the day before, testifying about the abuse of DNR, et cetera.
An 18-year-old boy who got into bow hunting because of my TV show got a ticket because his bow case wasn't zipped up. There's a law in Michigan that wildlife policy has to be based on science. What's the science of a bull case?
You know, he made so many great points, and I know this was about hunting, fishing, wildlife, etc. But really, if you take a look at that way of thinking, the way the government comes really to everything, it really is a blanket approach. It really does, I believe, shine a big spotlight on everything that they're trying to do when it comes to everything. There is no common sense. It's complete control, and they're out of control in Lansing. And I was just happy to see him testify and make those points.
Yeah, and he said that the DNR is the enemy of conservation.
Yeah.
And I thought what that hearing really did, and there was another hearing by the Government Weaponization Committee that really brought light to the fact that the DNR they're actually going undercover. They're deceiving ranch owners to get onto the property and investigate what is going on there.
Yeah.
And it shows that this DNR is totally out of control. One of the things that he talked about is how the deer population is totally out of control. I live in suburban Muskegon County, and I can tell you the deer population is totally out of control. And when I drive to Lansing occasionally, the amount of deer that you see on 96 on the side of the road from Muskegon County to Lansing is crazy. And this is the way it is across the entire state. The last data that's been made available was 2023, over 58,000 car deer crashes in the state of Michigan. First of all, which led to 11 deaths. So first of all, that is dangerous. But secondly, think about what that does to insurance rates, what that costs motorists when they have to fix their cars. This is a huge problem. And so the DNR, instead of trying to figure out what to do about the deer population and how do we incentivize hunters to hunt more, which helps our economy, and two, controls the deer population, they're going after bow hunters, as Ted said. They're going undercover. They have lost their way, and it's up to the state house to do something about that, because the Democrats, the Whitmer administration, the DNR is her appointee, and her appointees, and the state Senate, they're not going to do anything about this, and so it's up to the House to do something about it.
Kyle Olson, the Midwesterner, the Midwesterner.news. Always a pleasure, my friend. Before we go, there's one story that's over on the Midwesterner that we talked about at length a little bit yesterday, and wanted to just sort of get your comment on. Can you hang with us for just a moment? It's a story, in fact, about people in Michigan living like they're Amish, having to live like they're Amish because the prices of the energy keep going up. And it's a story folks are really passionate about. Want to dig into that and find out. I'll tell you where you can find more of these stories at the Midwesterner, the Midwesterner.news. We're back with Kyle Olson coming up in just a minute. And don't forget, folks, don't just bookmark it. Definitely put your email address in so that you can stay up to date on these stories and more. Back after this, don't go anywhere. It is West Michigan Live on a free-for-all Friday. We'll jump on the horn with you coming up, too, at 616-774-2424. First, if you're able, please rise for the national anthem.
West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Here are your headlines from the Midwesterner this Friday, June 27th. I'm Robin Poffman. It's a Midwesterner.news original story. A 14-year-old Palestinian student in Detroit wants a court to award her emotional damages after her teacher calls her out for refusing to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. In other news, Michigan House Democrats melting down as a Republican representative, Josh Shriver, delivers a speech on illegal immigration. Shriver introducing a resolution that would encourage Michigan law enforcement agencies to enter into an agreement with ICE.
The one big, beautiful bill to secure our borders, turbocharge our economy, and bring back the American dream. That's what's happening, too.
At the White House, President Trump hosting an event for his one big, beautiful bill that he's trying to get passed through Congress. A reporter asking the president if he thinks the Senate will finish its work on the bill by the 4th of July.
Mr. President, can Congress finish this by July 4th?
We hope so.
For these stories and more, visit the Midwesterner at themidwesterner.news.
I'm Dr. Damon Tanton for Viome.
All right, folks, full speed ahead here. We're going to get back with Kyle in just a moment. I want to say good morning to a few folks who are in the chat this morning in the VIP and the Freedom Fam over on Locals. You can join, by the way, just $7 a month to do so. You can get exclusive access to the secret show prep, which I send out every day before the show, so you get to see the stories that we're looking at every day. You get to be a part of the Q&A that happens every day after the show, after the after show. We call the after party, or the remnants. We haven't landed necessarily on an official name yet. But all of that and more, like I said, all kinds of exclusive podcasts first, like that interview, the conversation with Ryan Kelly. That aired this week over on Locals First. So you have a chance to see that before it drops on the podcast for everyone. The VIPs. This morning, Andrew Stuff, Hemi's in the house. Terry, good to see you. Kelly and many others. Gritter, Sharon, thank you so much for being here with us. Jer Bear, Salo, Sue. Absolutely beautiful picture there, Abel. Absolutely gorgeous. Little baby. Good to see you such a time as this over on Rumble. Mando Mark, Luscious Linda Ray, Mama Jacobson on Facebook, the Bookers today. We see Lori, Tammy, Sherry. Good to see you, Bonnie, Bunny. And on YouTube, I see Donna popping up on a YouTube. I see Charlene's in the house today. Char as well. Good to see y'all, folks. Jumping in and having a great time today in the conversations. Don't forget to share today. Got a prize for you at the end. Somebody who shares the program, whether it be on Facebook, X, Rumble, wherever you are, gonna get set up with something cool. Hang on, back on the air. All right, Kyle Olson with us, the Midwesterner, the Midwesterner.news. People in Michigan living like they're Amish because of the electric prices and the energy. It just keeps going through the roof. Great article, story about this on the Midwesterner, Kyle. I've only got about 45 seconds here, but I just wanted you to address this. This is something driving people up the wall.
Yeah, Michigan has the highest electricity rates in certainly in the Midwest, if not the country. And here we've got companies like DTE, Consumers Energy. Mm-hmm. They keep going to the Whitmer Public Service Commission asking for rate increases, and year after year. And people are saying we can't afford this anymore. And not to mention, we have some of the most unreliable electricity in the country. Right. And so something has got to give. And so we published this story about how they don't have Christmas lights anymore. They're hanging their clothes outside so they can, not pay for the dryer electricity. Yeah. This is not the way people want to live. But because of the situation in Michigan, it's what they're having to do.
It is incredible, and you're right. It's like we're paying more for less, and every day people are just wringing their heads up. By the way, it's not just you or me. It's also industry, big business that would like to come here, manufacturing, et cetera. They can't because they just can't afford the energy prices. Always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate it. By the way, that costs us jobs, folks. The Midwesterner, the Midwesterner.news. Kyle Olson, thank you, sir. God bless.
Happy to. Thanks.
Seven 2424. That's 616-774-2424. West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on Wood Radio.
Back in just a moment. You can join the program at any time. The iHeartRadio app. Hit that microphone button and sound off, too. Ryan Kelly, the podcast drops. The first conversation we really had. Chance to sit down and hear from him about the time he spent in jail, political persecution he faced January 6th, and being a Republican gubernatorial candidate here in Michigan. You'll hear it this weekend, but parts of it coming out right here on West Michigan Live.
Wherever you are, stream us on your smartphone. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, is back in Vegas.
T-Mobile Arena.
September 19th and 20th, streaming live only on Hulu. Starring John Fogerty, Bryan Adams, Sammy Hagar, Mariah Carey, Tim McGraw, Jelly Roll, Ed Sheeran, and more.
All right. Hey, thank you for being here with us, folks. Update on my health. Thank you so much for somebody goes, you don't have SARS. Do you know? Matter of fact, I know it's not viral. We are locked it because the only thing that helps is Benadryl. And I feel like $1 million today compared to what I felt like yesterday. Yesterday, I have you wouldn't believe the kind of things that I've taken. I've been like a chemistry set, like a full-on experiment, trying to get something that would stop the flow. And the only thing that works is Benadryl. So it's obviously allergies, and I see those little cotton ball things floating through the air, and I think that's probably it. But I haven't had allergies like this in a long time. So I thank you for your prayers. I feel so much better than I did yesterday, so much better. In the last couple of nights, I've really gotten some great sleep. This morning, I woke up and no issues at all. So, you know, and I just have the voice is a little bit weaker, you know, from just clearing your throat and dealing with this stuff, you know, just the crud. But there is it's no virus, no issues as far as that's concerned. So thank you for the concern. Thank you for the prayers. That definitely helps. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. Ryan Kelly set up here in just a little bit. We're going to play part of that conversation. If you missed it over the day, got to give or the week, got to give a chance to get that geared up. Gosh, these are so funny. These are hilarious. These baby videos. I haven't made one yet. Maybe I should make one. We'll make one of me and Ryan. This is Glenn, and he's talking about Michelle Obama, I think.
I just want you to put yourself in Barack's shoes for a minute. You know, they're the ones right underneath Jennifer Aniston's bed. How would
they do this with AI? They take a picture, and then they make a baby, and then they make the baby's lips and things move to the audio. It's crazy how they do it.
How would you feel if your wife said these words? She said, you know, I'm just Michelle. I'm not Mrs. Obama. Then, in the same interview, she goes on and she said, oh, I am glad we didn't have a son because he would have turned out exactly like Barack. I don't think these are rumors anymore about their marriage.
Do you actually believe that Barack Obama is having an affair with Jennifer Aniston? The marriage...
She's hot. And if you've been married to Big Mike your whole time, it's like, hey, get off me. You know, I mean, is Matt LeBlanc available?
Oh, boy.
I just want you...
That's too much. Yeah, Benadryl, it's like drinking 50,000 cups of coffee. Good stuff. I don't know why, but it just does. And I do, if I'm going to take it during the day, I'm going to have to drink some coffee. I can tell you that much, because otherwise, I might fall asleep right here, just sitting here on the air with you. I don't know what to do. But I haven't taken anything yet this morning. I did do a spray. I did a neti pot last night. Have you done the neti pot? You talk about, it's almost like waterboarding yourself. You ever do this where you take it and you got to take it, it's got that little, it's like a tea kettle, and you put it in one nose and then nostril, and then you kind of like tilt your head, and then it's supposed to come out the other side. So I got so desperate, the advice I got said, do the neti pot, do the neti pot. So, okay, I'll do the neti pot, and I don't know if it made it worse. I felt like I still had some more drainage last night after I did the neti pot. I felt like it may have made it worse. Yet I took the Afrin spray. I just don't want to tell you all this. I feel like a chemistry, like I said, like a chemistry set. Took the Afrin spray before bed, and then the Afrin spray opens up your nose, like opens it up. But you got to take the Benadryl on top of that, to cut off everything else. Not your throat, your nostrils. So I waterboarded myself, sprayed some junk up my nose, and took a Benadryl, and I was able to sleep. I did great. But the night before, just after and just Benadryl, I slept very well then too. So, yeah, it's a whole thing, folks. It really is. It's nutty. It's nutty. Hang on. Let's cue up our video for Ryan here to everything that you've been through, and as much of it as we can in the time that we have. But I know people are going to have questions. We're going to try and ask a few. Give folks a chance to ask some as well. But thank you for taking the time to be here with us to do this today. All right, we're going to start it there. Bring it right in for folks that are watching behind the scenes. He talks about a lot of things, whether he's going to run for governor, stop supporting pharma. Critter, I haven't found the weed that I need to smoke or the herb that I need to snort or whatever to stop my allergies. I get it, the bee pollen, maybe I should be doing the honey. But now that I haven't done the honey, how do I stop the allergies in their tracks? I mean, I'm not, I don't even like taking a Tylenol if I have to, something like that. I don't. 9 times out of 10, I don't. But I mean, I got to do something, otherwise I'm not here. And you're right, some of this stuff is stupid expensive. Some of the things that I saw recommended, and I literally tried almost everything. I tried Claritin yesterday, didn't touch it. Sudafed in the morning, the good stuff, the stuff that Walter White, is that the guy's name from Breaking Bad? The stuff he would use. That didn't really do anything. It just, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, Afrin is extremely addictive and destructive because it works and you can breathe. Well, they say don't do it more than 3 days. So today's that. I'm not going to do any more. That's that. But you're right. And I remember my grandpa used to have that stuff sitting on his bedside table, so he must have been addicted to the drip, the good stuff. All right, hang on, folks. Back on the air in just a moment. Stand by. Here we go.
#1 podcast network, iHeart. Follow What Happened to Talina Czar and start listening on the free iHeart Radio app today.
Hey, it's Glenn Beck, and you're listening to West Michigan Live with our good friend Justin Barclay. The Glenn Beck program coming up at 10 on Wood Radio.
I keep getting them. Today I'm getting more suggestions about what to take or do, what to smoke or snort. When you get the allergies, you'll do anything. You know what I'm saying? You will do anything to get rid of them, and especially if you talk for a living, because you have to be able to breathe. That's number one. You have to be able to breathe, period. That's one thing that you want to do. I think just probably something good, right? And then the other thing is you got to be able to talk. So you got both of these things. And I finally found the only people thought I had SARS or maybe I had the monkeypox or what. Who knows what it was. They thought they had all kinds of things in the chat over the last few days. Maybe have you tried this? Have you tried that? I haven't tried the Mectin yet, but I don't think it's that because the only thing that's ever touched this, whatever it is that I got, is Benadryl. So I've been taking that last couple of nights, and then I've got it. I'm ready if I need it today. I'll pour it in. But I'm doing pretty good. So thank you for your prayers. It's not very rarely there's a silver bullet. But I tell you, when you find it, you can't. It's like, oh man, you couldn't be more happy. In fact, I found a silver bullet for my foot pain. I've been telling you about it for a while. Foot, back, leg pain. Maybe you got all three or one. That's just stopping you dead in your tracks. Well, the Good Feet store can help. They've helped me. And as I mentioned, it is that season where you want to be out and about and doing all the great things that we get to. We get this sunshine. We get this beautiful weather here in Michigan. Just a couple of weeks a year, really. That's what we're talking about. So when it's here, we got to get out and enjoy it. Go to the lake, spend some time with the kids, the grandkids, chasing after doing all the kind of the fun things that you get to do. And my girls are 4 and 2, so they're constantly on the go. So I got to be ready to go when they are. And that's why I'm so grateful for the Good Feet store. Stop in today on 28th Street. Right in front of Costco, or in Portage on Westnedge in front of Kohl's. No, it's not shoes they're selling, but they have these inserts that are personalized art supports. They are like nothing you've ever tried before, not like the drugstore kind, not like the doctor. This is something that you've never tried, and I got to tell you, if you haven't, you're missing out. I felt the difference immediately when I put them on. Come in and experience the Good Feet feeling for yourself today at the Good Feet store. You can live life to the fullest and do it pain-free. So thank you for your suggestions on all of the allergy medications and everything else. I'm still pouring through them, but right now, Benadryl is working. Over the weekend, we've got a podcast coming out. Got us a chance to sit down. Remember Ryan Kelly? He ran for governor in 2022. He's one of the 40 people that were in that race. But at one point, he was like near the top until he was charged. The weaponization of government. He was politically persecuted for a misdemeanor on January 6th. That was just being at the Capitol that day, essentially. And what they did to him, essentially sending him to prison, was just unforgivable. The Biden administration. So we sat down because he's a friend and we haven't had a chance to really talk about this. And he's been out talking to folks crisscrossing the state and really probably wrestling with that question of whether or not he's going to try to run again. But I really wanted to sit down and have it on the record. What happened to him, what they did, what that was like with his family. We did over an hour, and you'll be able to hear and see that tomorrow as it drops for everybody at 9 a.m. But today, it's over on Locals as we speak, free for folks at justinbarclay.com/locals. But you'll be able to hear just a portion of it. Here was our conversation.
Always good to be here with you, Justin. Thanks for the invite. It is a story that needs to be told. It's people, all over the state and the country that don't even really understand the depths of what happened. And I'm not alone in this. There's so many other people that have gone through similar struggles, similar persecutions. My story is unique because I was running for public office. I was the leading gubernatorial candidate in the state of Michigan at the time that I was arrested for misdemeanors. And, I've been telling the story all over the state of Michigan and excited to do it here. Let's dive in.
There's the picture. I think this one may have came from NBC, one of the things that probably gives folks the best sort of description about what happened. But as I mentioned, the political persecution, right, and the prosecution, but really the persecution of all of this. I mean, it started even before President Trump's, really started feeling it. They raided Mar-a-Lago and all that. They came to your house as well. And I want to take folks back to this time. We're going to talk about January 6th and what happened on that day and kind of get into all of that at some point. But first, let's start with this because this happened at a time when you were doing pretty well in the polls, weren't you? I mean, walk us through where we were during the election for governor here in Michigan and particularly, I guess, this was primaries, right? Before the primary.
It was right before all the primary voting started. And if we want to rewind back to a time that people will remember, the signature debacle. You remember that, Justin? There was 10 gubernatorial candidates, I think, at the time, and then 5 of them didn't get their signatures because of, invalid signatures. They had, fraudulent signatures. And there was 5 that didn't make the ballot. So that whole time period following that was the end of May of 2022. You started to see articles and polls pop up all over the state that Ryan Kelly is the favored candidate, is the leading gubernatorial candidate. And, it was multiple polls from different places that, really painted a picture of, hey, we have this guy that was, leading protests in 2020, was courageous enough to step up and say, hey, look, this is all unconstitutional. This is not how we operate in America. And then the next thing you know, the FBI shows up at my house, June 9th, 2022, and I'm arrested in front of my family, early in the morning. They raid my house for misdemeanor charges.
Yeah, I gotta slow you down because this is so much. And I gotta take people back. The first time I met Ryan, and you said something that made me think about this. Well, I think we all have a little bit of PTSD over the last several years. It's hard, putting these pictures together. I can't believe it's been 5 years since the insanity of 2020. But you and I first met during that year as the governor, the Wolverine Queen at the time, Gretchen Whitmer, had really decided unilaterally. We had the No Kings protest the other day, but she decided. The Queen of Michigan, she was going to shut this down, open that up, and all these things that she was making these decisions on, based on the science and the data. I remember all of that. Oh, my gosh. Nails on a chalkboard. You're thinking back to it now. But you and I met, I guarantee, I believe it was one of the gatherings. I think it must have been like the Deltaplex or someplace like that. And in fact, this will tell you how crazy this time was. I think Tudor Dixon was there too. A few of our other friends were roaming around. People that got great chance to get to know since then. But that's where I got to know you and some of these other folks. Is you were involved in standing up, and I'm saying, look, this isn't right. So you've been very vocal from that point, and that's really where you start to sort of gain, I guess, notoriety. And you had been active in government and business for a while, but that's where people really got to know you, right?
It's the beginning of kind of the public version of myself, if you will. And Justin, if you remember back, the first time that I was on your radio show was April 30th of 2020. We had that protest at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
We had a ton of national news from that for various reasons. But you had me on your show at that event. We had a very simple message, a very simple objective, and that was to get the Senate to vote no to extend the governor's state of emergency declaration. So I'm on your show with you. You're covering what's happening at the Capitol. You're getting the message out there, and then from there, we've collaborated on a lot of stuff. And it was very early on that people like you and I said, hey, this is not right. And with that event on the 30th, even though the Senate did vote no, we were highly successful that day of getting them to vote no. Queen Gretchen, right? No kings, no queens. Queen Gretchen decided that she's not going to listen to what the Senate says, and she's going to continue with her status quo of shutting the state down, put your mask on, stay at home. You're not allowed to operate unless she tells you that she can move.
So much about that time now, when you think back about it, it's so absurd. It's so absurd. But there were some people, and you and I and lots of folks listening to this program who saw that completely for what it was. And there's some people that we welcome in with open arms now that are discovering they're still waking up. There's a lot of people that still need to wake up. But that was it. So it's funny to hear you say that, to think about it. They did. They came to your house. And we'll get to January 6th and why you were there and what you were doing and whatnot. But it's important to note this as a legal issue, because I remember coming to the courthouse that day and hearing that you had been, the FBI had come to your home and they'd raided your home and for a misdemeanor, which is so wild now to hear and to think about and to talk about. At this time, there were questions about what they were going to do and what you were essentially where you weren't supposed to be, according to them. Now, I don't really personally see anything wrong, but maybe you can give me sort of the background of what they charged you with, what they said, what was going on in the background there. But like, you were on the property there at the house when you shouldn't have been. Is that essentially what they were saying? You were. Here is answer, and of course, what happened when they sent him away. The story behind it all coming up this week and to drop the podcast, but more on that after this. Plus, will he run for governor again? Ryan Kelly, our exclusive interview. More of it after this. Hang on.
Reaching past the headlines. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Here are your headlines from the Midwesterner this Friday, June 27th. I'm Robin Poffman. It's a Midwesterner.news original story. Michigan Senator Democrat Alyssa Slotkin says Democrats are urging Republicans to vote against President Trump's big, beautiful bill, which she claims cuts Medicaid funding.
Is there any American who thinks that health care is going well right now in America? So, yes, we're having those conversations. At the end of the day, the president is trying to browbeat people into voting for this thing, and soon. And so it's going to be up to my Republican colleagues whether they have a spine on these issues or not.
In other news, the ACLU filing a lawsuit on behalf of a 14-year-old Palestinian student in Detroit who wants a court to award her emotional damages after her teacher calls her out for refusing to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The girl says she refused to stand up as she's protesting U.S. support of Israel in the war on Gaza. The war starting as a result of Hamas terrorists murdering and kidnapping Jews on October 7th. 50 people still being held hostage, only 20 are thought to be alive. For these stories and more, visit The Midwesterner at themidwesterner.news.
Okay. Yep. Got more from Ryan. Actually, let me play some of this while we're just hanging out off the air here, and then I'll play some more when we get back on to. Yeah. I mean, that whole thing is questionable at best as well.
Questionable at best, for sure, Justin. And yeah, it was a restricted area they had deemed around the Capitol building. And oddly enough, they had approved multiple protests. So there was different permits that were given all around the Capitol building to different groups of people to have protests there. And they had, deemed certain areas restricted. But the issue was they didn't tell anybody that it was restricted until after the events of January 6th. So it was like retroactive, no trespassing area, right? Oh, you couldn't have been there back then. Well, that would have been great information to know.
Well, not only were they overwhelmed, right? Because the crowds that were there, and as you mentioned, there were planned events there. That we know that for a fact. They had permits pulled and all kinds of things. So they were planning on this to happen. So people showing up there, that's not out of the ordinary. You would think, okay, that's going to happen. People there in the crowds, how would they know that they weren't supposed to be there at any point? And I don't want to I don't want to take too much time to weigh too heavily on this, but we've all seen the videos where doors are held open at the Capitol building for people to walk right through, like they're on a tour. And you see, and the other thing that blows you away is that you see these people walking orderly through the velvet ropes and the stanchions through, Statuary Hall and whatnot there. And it just, it leaves a really bad taste in I think a lot of people's mouths, the way folks were treated. And of course, President Trump has made that right sense. I want to talk a little bit about that too. But, your political persecution, the prosecution at this time, it's happening while you're a leading candidate. So what do you make of this? What do you think happened during all of that time? Just your personal opinion.
My perspective on it, as I was able to A, live through it, B, reflect back on it, ultimately spent 60 days in prison because of it. And I'll talk a few details about, what the government said and also what the judge said at my sentencing about all of this. This will probably make a lot of people mad. It'll make a lot of people go, that's not right. Hey, you have a lawsuit. Hey, there's this. So we'll get into that in a minute. But, to your point, Justin, I'm the leading candidate according to all these different polls.
What do you think happened?
Candidate. A lot of people mad. It'll make a lot of people go, that's not right. Hey, you have a lawsuit. Hey, there's this. So we'll get into that in a minute. But, to your point, Justin.
All right, here we go. I got to stop it here. Sorry, we had a little bit of a repetitive skipping thing there because I was just trying to line it up. We're going to get back on the air here in just a second. Stand by. Here we go. Back after it. Coming up, the after show. It's the show after the show. We host that over at Facebook, Twitter, X, Rumble, Getter, Locals, YouTube, the iHeartRadio app. You can listen to it or wherever you download your podcasts. This weekend, a full hour with Ryan Kelly. As he mentioned, he was politically persecuted as a gubernatorial candidate back in 2022. Did time in prison because of the Biden Injustice Department. And you question, will he run again for governor here in Michigan? You get all those answers as the podcast drops tomorrow. Just another taste.
I'm the leading candidate according to all these different polls. I was 100% in, and you know that, Justin. I was 100% in. I spent all of my time connecting with people, traveling around the state. I would go to restaurants, grocery stores, cigar bars, different stores, just introducing myself just to random people in the general public, because I wanted to meet people and earn their vote. I was 100% in, and that's why I started doing so well and was the leading candidate. So they needed to interfere with my election to plant seeds of doubts in the mind of voters. That, at that time, if you remember, you saw on the news, they kept playing the same clips of the January 6th stuff where there was, a lot of conflict with law enforcement officers, putting on, replay all of that, and then sending all these people to prison for extended periods of time. And in the mind of a lot of voters that maybe don't pay as much attention as you and I and some of the people listening to this, you see that and you ask the question, hey, is this guy going to go to jail? Is he going to be able to go against Whitmer? There's a lot of people that still don't even realize that I had misdemeanor charges. I was also, before they went after President Trump with the 14th Amendment to try to keep him off the ballot, they had lawsuits here in the state of Michigan deeming me an insurrectionist, trying to keep me off of the ballot. So voters, to the tune of hundreds of thousands, which I couldn't meet that many people personally, they planted seeds of doubt. And I think a lot of people were thinking that what's going to happen to this guy? He's a fighter. They're doing him wrong, but I want Whitmer out of office. So that was their main thing. Interesting picture right there. I can make a comment on that one if you want.
Absolutely. Tell us.
So I have the video of that part right there. And in the video, you'll hear people start screaming USA, USA. It starts as a faint chant. And then you see me screaming USA, getting people to continue to scream USA. So interesting enough, I have a video of that. And that's one of the ones that they used, that I was such a bad guy. Oh no, he's screaming USA. We can't have that in America now, can we, Justin?
That picture we're talking about, you'll be able to see when you watch the video and see the full podcast show that's dropping tomorrow at 9 a.m. is that picture of him. It's infamous. Now he's holding his hands up and he's kind of like he's saying, bring it on, but he's actually saying USA, as in chant louder. And they use that to paint a picture of him. And of course, that's what the media, that now we've learned how they work. He was one of the first they targeted, even before President Trump. Since been pardoned, but will he run again? What was it like when he had to go to prison? What are some of the things that he learned, and what was the impact on his family? What a conversation with Ryan Kelly. And of course, you can hear it this weekend as it drops everywhere tomorrow at 9 a.m. The iHeartRadio app or wherever you download your podcast. An after show you don't want to miss. So much to get to. We'll try and make sense of it all before the weekend hits. Coming up next. Wishing you the best, folks. In the meantime, the Glenn Beck program is up next. Make it a great weekend. God bless.
Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. God is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
WOOD Grand Rapids, WOOD FM Muskegon. The news is next on Wood Radio.
If you.
All right. Dun, 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 dun. Stand by. Click a few buttons here, and then we get the after show rolling on, folks. Rolling. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and really appreciate you getting the word out. These are the stories the mainstream media will never tell you. A bit of how the sausage is made, like how they took that picture of Ryan, and they were able to use it, make everybody think that he was such a bad guy and part of the insurrection at the Capitol. It's wild to hear the truth about it, but isn't that interesting? Something that we don't shy away from here is the truth. Thank you for your support. One of the ways you can do that is just by sharing this program. If you haven't helped us do it yet today, break the algorithm. Click share whether you're watching on Facebook, repost on Twitter, X, Rumble, Getter, Locals, YouTube. We're up there too today. Appreciate you helping us out and get the word out today. All right, back with the after show. Stand by.
Get ready to strap in. It's going to be a heck of a ride. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Never a dull moment, but yes, you'll hear the stories you won't hear anywhere else, and we appreciate you being here with us for them today. I'm Justin Barclay. Yeah, welcome to the after show, the show after the show. That's why we call it the after show. So much to get to now. Not a lot of time during our hour. It's the fastest hour on radio, and it just moves right along. We got the truth. Did Iran move the uranium or not? A new report that's out that's going to blow the lid off of it all. President Trump says Democrats, well, they're the ones responsible for the leak. Is it treason? The stories you won't want to miss. And I believe we'll probably get, maybe even while we're on the air here today, get the heads up on some of the latest and remaining Supreme Court cases that are on the docket. That and more all coming up this morning, plus clips you won't want to miss from some of the biggest events in the recent days. Stand by for that. First, we want to thank our sponsors today, the folks who make this program possible today and every day. Well, I'll give you a great example. These guys do one of the best jobs at it, trying to get you set and ready no matter what is coming. I know you've been paying attention. I know you've been watching. I know you've been seeing what exactly is happening out there. And this is something that I have been ringing the alarm for and about for quite some time now. Just look. Look at what we're watching play out right in front of our faces. Even with Trump in office, right? Every trip to the grocery store proves it. Your dollar, and it's not his fault. We got inflation up again until they're able to cut some of this government spending and really rein this stuff in. And they're doing their best right now, but your dollar is losing altitude fast. How do you make sure that you're ready, you're able to hedge against inflation? I recommend taking a look at precious metals. Gold, silver, Kirk Elliott Precious Metals. They'll make sure that you are ready for no matter what comes our way. Fight back with Kirk Elliott Precious Metals. Kirk's PhD-backed team shows you how to swap melting paper for solid gold and silver inside your IRA, or ship to your front door. Download the free inflation survival guide Kirk Elliott has at goldwithjustin.com, or you can call him today at 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, or go online to goldwithjustin.com. Protect your purchasing power today. Kirk Elliott Precious Metals. It's freedom you can hold, folks. Thanks to Kirk and making the program possible. All right, let's dig in. Let's get to it. Do you know what today is? It's kind of a special day. It was a year. It just popped up in my memories. It was a year ago today. Should have mentioned this on the air, but again, the stuff that we don't have time for, we got to get to it during the after show. It was a year ago today, the disastrous moment, Biden on stage with Trump during the debates.
He was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Had to hit the cough button. Sorry, that was so much. Still have a little bit of a residual there. This may be one of the moments that single-handedly forced Biden out and thus a Trump win. They couldn't hide it anymore. CNN, they did their best. Even folks on the left, especially some of those mega donors, some of those big supporters, we're out. We can't do this. And that's when we saw, well, just a matter of time before Kamala just had that plan. She decided, scheming behind the scenes, to jump in and run. And once she announced, everything was over. It was all over at that point. It's just something to see. It really is. It's incredible. So, anyway, I just thought worth mentioning a year ago. Now they're flashback, okay? A year ago today, and I believe it was just some of the major hits from the we gotta finally beat Medicare. Was it Medicare? Is that what he said? We finally beat it. We finally beat Medicare.
Care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to care.
My favorite part is during this debate is watching. You're just watching President Trump's facial expressions. You go back and watch it. And you know the irony of all this? The irony of it all is here's Joe Biden on The View. I think just the day, was it the day before or the day of, talking about Joe and Trump and cognitive issues.
But I think the American people deserve a debate because you need to see your choices. You need to see Trump, and you need to see the president, and you need to see the differences. And my husband's, and you're going to see how smart he is and the experience he has. And then you'll see somebody who, like you're saying, I'm going to use Joy's words, can't put a sentence together. Right.
It wasn't Trump who couldn't put the sentence together. We saw it was obviously it was Joe Biden. But again, it's a year ago today. And it is even CNN could not cover it up. There's nothing that they could do. You know why? And this is why they don't cover the Trump press conferences or the whatever live, because they don't want people to see this stuff live. When they see it live, then they say, oh, they can make their own opinions. They got to doctor it up. They got to roll it out and spin it the way they want it, just like everything else. Here we have Tapper explaining exactly what CNN does.
Asking questions is literally our job. Demanding facts and answers instead of just taking a president's word for it.
Don't you think maybe you should have applied that same ideology, that same thought process the last 4 years? Just maybe would have been critical.
Asking questions is literally our job.
But we didn't do it. Hey, we got Supreme Court news, folks. Let me see if I can break it down for you. Some breaking news.
To read the opinion, but what I've seen does look like a victory for the Trump administration.
Court ruling on birthright citizenship case.
That the only way for justices to exercise this type of universal injunction in some of these cases is equitable relief. But she does not find evidence that type of relief was granted to these judges. So they indicate that the administration is likely to prevail on this issue. All of that is going to be awfully good news for this administration. They have been really hit with these sort of Lilliputian attacks. All these individual district judges effectively freezing federal policy and programs across the country. So it does appear to be a victory. It may be a bit more nuanced, but so far it looks like a good day for the Trump administration.
Andy, a question for you. Again, here are my dumb questions. This is not on the merits of birthright citizenship, then, it looks like, but am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think we never get to the merits because of the injunction issue. And it seemed to me that what made this case very interesting to people at the beginning was the birthright citizenship question and the very important question of whether that's compelled by the 14th Amendment or not. As the case was litigated, it really became this other thing, which was about these nationwide injunctions, which, for the reasons that Jonathan just mentioned, are the thing that has plagued the Trump administration across the board in its second term.
Andy, Jonathan, stand by. I want to bring in Shannon Bream once again. Shannon, I understand you're getting more details on the dissent in this case. Fill us in.
Yeah. I always think it's helpful to turn there because you can get a sense of exactly what they're pushing back against with all these different concurrences. And what they said is, because remember, again, this comes to us in the vehicle of the birthright citizenship case. And the questions at oral arguments were, OK, what if district judges decide differently and they aren't able to give an order for the entire country? Would a child be born in New Mexico have a different right than one in New Jersey, depending on how those judges have ruled in different places? Justice Sotomayor, writing for the dissent, says the parents of children covered by what she's calling the citizenship order would be well advised to file promptly class action suits and to request temporary injunctive relief for the class pending class certification. And so she's saying, listen, if you're one of these parents who are worried about what's going to happen with the citizenship of your child, you should be out there filing so that there will not be this patchwork, that every district will have an opportunity to weigh in. But she also says, get these cases moving quickly. She says lower courts would be advised to act swiftly on these requests for relief and to adjudicate the cases as quickly as they can so as to enable this court's prompt review, saying we have not decided that birthright citizenship question. We want the lower courts to act quickly so there's not this patchwork, so it gets back here and they actually answer the question on substance. She goes on to say this: today the court abdicates its vital role in these efforts, saying with the stroke of a pen, the president has, quote, made a solemn mockery of our Constitution. She said, pointing at the president, and then she goes on to blame the court. Rather than stand firm, this court gives way. So clearly the dissent not in line with what has been decided by the majority of this court. Again, we'll continue to read through those concurrences as well.
Andy, here's a little bit from what Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote in the majority part. She said that federal courts do not exercise general oversight of the executive branch. They resolve cases and controversies consistent with the authority Congress has given them. And then this is a sentence I really noted. She said, when a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power to. And that might just be where this all came down to, Andy.
So this is big news. This is these district judges, the rogue judges, out of control, trying to make these rulings that, again, go after Trump and the executive branch and say, like, in a small district in Wisconsin or whatever it is, this is going to be a ruling that'll impact the rest of the country. You just can't have this happening, and it sounds like what the Supreme Court is done today. Not even ruling on the birthright citizenship piece, but the other part with the injunction. All right, do we have more on these?
Interesting what Shannon just told us about Justice Sotomayor's suggestion that you go to class actions. If that would even that, I think, would be a victory for the Trump administration in the sense that class actions are much more rigorous and much more regulated than the idea of these district judges in a completely untethered way just making rulings that apply to the whole country.
Andy, Jonathan, stand by. I want to bring in now John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant AG. John, thanks for coming on. So let's take a look at the bigger picture when it comes to this case, because this is obviously going to have a ripple effect. The Trump administration has been really frustrated with these nationwide injunctions. There have been 40 of them so far in his second term already. This ruling seems like it has the potential to maybe break the chains off his agenda a little bit here.
I think that's right. This decision frees the Trump administration from having to, run at the beck and call of every single district judge in the country, of which there are almost 1,000. And so what's going to happen now is that the Trump administration will have to stop its executive orders only in the courts where those judges decide against them, but still be able to pursue their policies in the rest of the country. Now, the dissenters in the opinion, let me be clear, this is a very important, significant victory for the Trump administration at the Supreme Court. One, I think that a lot of people did not foresee back in January or February when the president took office and started issuing the executive orders. Now, the downside is we're going to have fragmentation of federal law throughout the country. This is something the Supreme Court does not want, that most federal courts don't want to tolerate. That's, in fact, why we have an appellate system and the Supreme Court, to make sure there's only one rule of federal law. So what's going to have to happen in addition to this, both for the Trump administration and for the parties that are challenging his rules, is that the Supreme Court is going to have to accelerate the review of questions like the birthright citizenship question to get them to the Supreme Court faster so that we don't have, say, a district court in Massachusetts and a district court in Texas enforcing different interpretations of the birthright citizenship question.
All right, it's an interesting piece here. We got, it looks like more, maybe even have more announcements coming up in just moments. Supreme Court rulings coming out. This is the biggie for today. More coming up after this.
I got good news and bad news. The good news is it's a deal and a steal for you. The bad news is I missed out. Well, I just bought a bunch of bedding. I just bought a bunch of new pillows and sheets and things from Mike Lindell at MyPillow, and I didn't get this good of a deal. For a limited time, Mike is selling his pillows, the classic, $14.88. That's it. The MyPillow, the thing that started it all, just $14.88. He had one of these big box stores that canceled on him. You know how they do. Well, this is actually your win. It's a win for everyone. A win for Mike because he can unload the pillows at a great price. It's a win for you because you get a good deal, and you can help support this program at the same time. Get your pillows for $14.88 when you go to mypillow.com/Justin. Use code Justin at checkout. That's mypillow.com/Justin. And while you're there, shop for all kinds of great things. I love the towels. The best towels I've ever used in my entire life. Because Mike's got all kinds of great goodies at mypillow.com/Justin. Do it today.
Really interesting stuff as we get these announcements coming down. I've got the Fireball videos out there. By the way, there's a few of these, and maybe we should play some so you could see the Fireball. People asking questions. What happened to the Fireball? Where did it land? Did it do any damage? These are great questions. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have answers. They're still looking for whatever this was, meteorite, whatever it is. UFO, little green men, maybe? I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. I don't think so. I think it's mostly probably just a meteorite is what it was. Something that broke off and entered the atmosphere. But it's bright. It's bright enough for folks to be able to see it. In fact, I got to be careful with language because I don't know what we're going to catch here on some of these videos. Let's watch. Dash cam. Holy smokes, look at that one. There goes another one. It's almost like you're watching a movie. You would you're watching these videos and you think to yourself, like, is that AI? Or is that real? But if you're driving down the road, you might think the same thing. You might think, wait a minute, did I just see like AI in real time? Or what did I just watch? Because it's like something straight out of a movie itself. This is the one I saw yesterday. I posted, man, these are... Turn that music off. That's just weird. Look at that one. You know, the thing is, we've had this stuff happen throughout the years. We just never had all the cameras that we have now. The cameras on all these cars. There's cameras on every doorbell now to catch this stuff. Dash cams, all of this stuff. People got their phones out filming. Look at that one. Whoa. Mostly in the southeast, as a matter of fact, as I said. Most of this in the southeast is where they fight. So they don't have any damage. Maybe it is Clark Kent. Maybe it is Superman. We could use a Superman right now. All right, something new here. Hang on.
Culture of disdain for lower courts. Their rulings and the law as they interpret it will surely hasten the downfall of our governing institutions, enabling our collective demise. She goes on from there, but clearly she sees this decision as something she obviously disagrees with, but as a very threat to the structure of our courts and our institutions as they now exist. I understand there is something that Justice Barrett said in the majority with respect to answering Justice Jackson's dissent. I'm trying to tick back to that. But also a reminder for folks, Justice Barrett was a law professor for a long time before she got into the world of being a federal judge. She also taught classes in civil procedure, which is one of the first things that I had my first year in law school. You get it as a first-year student. But it gets to the heart of how things proceed, how the court system works. So it does make sense now that even being a more junior justice, why she would have written this opinion. And it gets to this opinion, a lot of those questions that you've heard our other panelists bring up here about certification of class actions. It takes a lot of work. It is
all right. Getting into the nitty gritty on this to bring it back in. What happened is the Supreme Court said these little district courts, they can't go out and do whatever they want. They've got to make sure that whatever they're doing only involves their district, doesn't involve the rest of the country. That's essentially what's happening.
Okay, yes. So this is at least a partial, if not a full, and we're reading this because there are several concurrences here, but it's written by Justice Barrett, which goes against the ruling that I just gave the guidance because she's one of the least junior justices, but she was assigned to write this opinion. And essentially what she says some say that the universal injunctions give the judiciary a powerful tool to check the executive branch, but she says federal courts do not exercise general oversight of the executive branch. They resolve cases and controversies consistent with the authority Congress has given to them. When a court concludes the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power, sounding very much like they are limiting these injunctions. We know here that they have granted at least partially the stay to these preliminary injunctions, but they say only to the extent that the injunctions are broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff withstanding to sue. They say the lower courts have to move expeditiously with respect to each of these plaintiffs. It says the injunctions are also stayed to the extent that they prohibit executive agencies from developing and issuing public guidance about the executive plans to implement the executive order. If you remember, part of this executive order on birthright citizenship, the stay was that the agencies that would be responsible for actually implementing the change with birthright citizenship, those agencies couldn't even start making a plan. So that part of it is lifted as well. We do see that the dissent here comes from the three justices you expect. It looks like Justice Sotomayor filed the dissent. Kagan and Jackson joined that. Justice Jackson also filed a dissenting opinion, but there are a lot of concurrences here. Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, there are others. So we'll parse through this, but at its first blush, it looks like this is a win and putting a limit on these.
Of course it is. It's a big win. Trump administration going to be able to get a lot more done and a lot quicker now. They did mention SCOTUS has to act quicker if they're going to get involved on some of these things. So we may get more. We may get more coming out of the court here, and if we do, I'll bring that to you. In the meantime, they could have Alcatraz up and running. Remember, they wanted to do this jail, this prison, this detention center for some of these folks in Florida. Here's Ron DeSantis this morning talking about it on Fox News.
No problem, but all the stuff that goes into intake and processing of illegals, you're seeing this put up. This is all 24 hours. 24 hours from now, you're going to see even more. And by Tuesday, this will be able to have intake of illegals.
And you've thought of everything. Okay, so there are 4 gigantic tents. Let's come on over here, Governor. And people are thinking, okay, you're in the middle of the Everglades. It's hot. That would explain why you've got this bank of air conditioners here.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be, illegals will come in, they'll be processed. There'll be places for them to be housed. You'll have an ability for food. You'll have an ability for them to consult legal rights if they have that, because there is a process that's involved with this. So this is really everything. This is going to be a self-contained little area. And then, of course, you also have stuff for the staff that work here. So we've got laundry facilities, we've got showers, we've got, obviously, there you see the shower and bath facilities.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Where do you go to get a bunch of bathrooms like that?
Well, so this is being done by the Division of Emergency Management. So when we have a hurricane, like we would actually have people stage here for hurricane response normally, anyways, but we have it when we have all the linemen come in to do the power.
Sure.
We have to set up little areas for them. And so you have all this type of stuff. So this is not our first rodeo. The detainee illegal alien mission's a little bit different, and the deportations, but logistics, we know how to do that.
Right.
This is incredible. How quickly they say this thing could be up and running and ready to rock like this weekend.
You know, for people thinking, okay, they're going to put the migrants on this hot asphalt, it looks like you're building.
We get the spinning wheel of death here.
A subfloor, and in fact, some guys putting down the plywood.
Yeah, no, look, this will be, I mean, there's not going to be anything that they're hurting for anything. There'll be AC, there'll be things that everybody needs. There's medical here. So it's being done right. It's being done by the book.
Well, you know, when you think of the imagery of Alcatraz, Alcatraz is surrounded by a bay. Here in the Everglades, we're surrounded by You're actually surrounded by gators and pythons.
So this is as secure as it gets. I mean, if a criminal alien were to escape from here somehow, and I don't think they will, you've got nowhere to go. I mean, what are you going to do? Trudge through the swamp and dodge alligators on the way back to 50, 60 miles just to get to civilization? Not going to happen. So not only that is it secure, it also takes this deportation mission out of the hair of our local and state law enforcement. This has no impact on Florida residents because some of that stuff can have an impact on them if it's in more populated areas. And so logistically, this really answers the call. All you need is a little bus to move them, about 2,000 feet that way, then get on a plane and they're gone.
Well, listen, the DHS must love this because they're hurting for facilities, and here you are helping the federal government out.
Yeah, well, I said at the very beginning when President Trump took office, you have to have state and locals on board. You got to be on the team if you want to get the deportation mission done. We're done that better than anybody, but I hope other states will follow suit.
Beautiful. The alligator Alcatraz. Hey, turns out the U.S., as it says, it monitored all Iranian nuclear sites before the strike. A new report says it didn't see any enriched uranium moved. We had that story, and, of course, the other questions of the leaks. Really, I think the treason from Democrats, who the president now says are the ones who are behind the scenes leaking this stuff. Folks, this is the deep state. This is the same thing at work we've seen throughout the years, trying to make it sound like these attacks these strikes, these targeted, did not exactly do what they said they were going to do in a very targeted way. No, they did. Apparently, the latest report now saying this. Just another big piece, and you can find it in the stack today if you want to share that with folks, maybe on the left that want to argue with you online. Tell them, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Here he is yesterday, doubling down.
Missouri, where, by the way, our beautiful planes landed, our B-2s, they landed after 36 hours of flying. Great going, Pete. And they hit the target. And they hit the target, and the target has now been proven to be obliterated, just as we said. We had little fake news from CNN. Thank you very much, CNN. Missouri.
What was he doing yesterday, by the way? He was talking about the big, beautiful bill, the one big, beautiful bill, and what it's going to do. And you're talking about tax cuts. In fact, he was flanked by folks who were there to be a part of that, working folks, right?
The great, big, beautiful bill. It's a beauty. There's never been a bill like this one.
Closing the deal, trying to get that done in the Senate, working over the weekend, but he made that point. Stopping the largest tax hike in history, it's so important.
We're going to stop the largest tax hike, and we're going to do that in history. This would be, if the bill doesn't pass, there'll be a 68% tax increase. Think of that, 68%, which would be the largest in history by about 40 points. And we'll make the Trump tax cuts permanent, expand the child tax credit, and we will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Promises made, promises kept. Love every bit of that on the campaign trail. Love it even more now. In fact, he highlighted one of the folks, one of the Door Dashers who was there in the moment yesterday talking about that.
Among the countless citizens who will benefit from these tax cuts is Malachi Krzyzewski, a devoted mom and DoorDash driver from Ripon, Wisconsin, who uses her tip income to support her son. Think of that, no tax on tips. And it was a very big problem. I was at a dinner in my beautiful building in Las Vegas, and unrelated to this, and I said, what's going on? I will never say good-looking waitress because looks don't matter anymore, in our modern society. She happened to be beautiful, but I won't say that. I won't mention that. But nevertheless, a waitress came over, and I said, how are you doing? She said, not good, sir. Why? The government is killing me on tips. And she looked at me, she said, sir, there should be no tax on tips. I said, say it again. There should be no tax on tips. I said, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I walked outside. The press was there, as always, waiting for something bad to happen, hundreds of them. I said, ladies and gentlemen, please announce tonight there will be no tax on tips. And a legend was made. We won Nevada by so much. Republicans don't win Nevada. We won Nevada. So I want to thank that young, beautiful waitress. Thank you very much.
They're pushing leverage into the one big beautiful bill. And again, like I said, Senate working over the weekend trying to make that happen. This is what he says: the day I sign it, these things are going to come into play.
The day I signed this bill into law, almost every major promise made in the 2024 campaign already will have become a promise kept. And that's very important. Promises made, promises kept.
Yeah, the question about the Senate, they're trying to gut it right now. That is true. In fact, Steve Deace over on The Blaze, great guy. Steve's actually a Michigan native. Don't know if you knew that. But here he is saying Trump is going to have to leverage Thune and Senate Republicans like he did Israel and Iran for a ceasefire. Otherwise, the version of his big, beautiful bill that comes back from the Senate will be so gutted it won't have the votes for final passage in the House. Because Republicans in D.C. are hiding behind an obscure bureaucrat to gut an already divisive bill of any reason their MAGA base would actually want anyone to vote for it, while the Democrat Marxist base is about to conquer America's greatest city out in the open in broad daylight. Steve makes a great point. These Republicans don't get it. They don't understand. Lots of them, of course, even if they do, they're done. They're playing their game. They think they can escape. They think they can get out alive. They're not going to. If they don't do what they were elected to do, the country will. I told you, 2024 was so important. The election, the most important of our lifetime, but it doesn't stop there. The fight continues. We got to fight every day. He's absolutely right. It will continue. These people are not going to be able to hide anywhere. They think their money or their influence or their positions of power, whatever it might be, is going to give them the ability to escape at some point, and that's just not going to happen. It can't happen. They are donezo. They'll be donezo right with the rest of us in this country. It is a sad day, I'll tell you that much. A sad day. The Dukes of Hazzard, I don't know if you remember. This is one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. Loved this show. Dukes of Hazzard. Richard Hirsch starred as Deputy Cletus Hogg. The Dukes of Hazzard TV series. He died unexpectedly Thursday in Los Angeles. He was 79. The death announced by the Cooters Pigeon Forge Facebook page. That's hilarious. Dukes of Hazzard theme museum owned by his former co-star Ben Jones, who portrayed Cooter Davenport in over 140 of a popular series. No cause of death has been revealed, but that is that's the latest. Hearst was scheduled to attend a meet and greet at Cooter's place, located outside Knoxville, Tennessee, on July 3rd, but that appearance was delayed Thursday morning due to unforeseen circumstances, according to the museum's page. I've known Rick for 45 years. There wasn't a minute of that time that he didn't leave me smiling or laughing, Jones wrote Thursday night. Sure, he was a professional comedian, but he mostly just had a big heart. As big as Texas, he says. He was a fine actor, splendid comic, and a wonderfully supportive colleague. The duo worked on the Emmy Award-nominated show during the 1970s and 80s. There you have it. I mean, they don't make shows like this anymore. They don't make shows anymore like this. And I think that's TV used to be so much better. Think about it. Think about how things have changed. And one of the reasons I just don't watch as much anymore. If I want to watch TV, I got certain shows or whatever I know that I'm going to watch, certain things that I know that I'm going to do, get into whatever it might be. But for the most part, I don't know about you, but I don't watch them anymore. It's hard to get into it. But the Dukes of Hazzard, man, you talk about classic. Is it just me? Can't be just me. Can't be just me on this one. And the theme song, it's hard to this good old Duke boys. It's hard to put that back into the, I mean, really, if you think about it, there's nothing out there like it anymore. There just isn't. So we say goodbye to one of the stars of that show today. Just the good old boys. Can we play the theme? I don't know if we can play the theme. It might get dinged online. I could try. The Dukes of Hazzard. Let's see. Maybe they'll play it in the news report here. Hang on. Let's.
Hazzard regular.
Actor Rick Hurst played Deputy Cletus Hogg in the sitcom.
Listen, Laverne, you don't have to worry. With me on the job, you're as safe as a penny in Boss Hogg's pocket.
According to CNN, Hurst died yesterday at 79. They say his death was confirmed by his co-star on the show, Ben Jones. The Dukes of Hazzard made Hurst a household name. He appeared in 55 episodes on the series from 1979 to 1982.
Is that what I saw? I think it was Waylon Jennings. Yeah, he did the. If we get dinged for that, I'm fine with it. This is all newsworthy, by the way, folks. That's why we're doing it. Hey, by the way, that's the latest. So we're getting more coming out today. We'll have you the latest. Keep with us on Facebook, Twitter X, Rumble, Getter, all those places for all of the updates throughout the day. In the meantime, wishing you the best. Thank you for being here today. If you want to hang out with us, you're a member of the VIP over on Locals. Going to do an after the after show. We'll call it the after show or the after party or the remnants. It's up to you. We'll be naming that any time now. It's free to join and watch, but if you want to watch that VIP party, you can join the VIP. The support us just $7 a month. That's all it takes to get in. You get a full year, plus a month free to copy my book, Good News, Hope, and Encouragement for Trying Times. I'll sign it and send it to you if you sign up today. That's it. Make it a great one, folks. God bless.
Welcome to the world of Q Broadcast. Hey, it's Justin. It's the future of home entertainment. It's here today. Now you can say farewell to cable and other streaming services that limit your options and open the door to unlimited possibilities. Q Broadcast gives you the power to choose what you want to watch, when you want to watch, and where you want to watch your favorite shows. In sports, on up to 5 devices simultaneously. Q Broadcast brings together all your favorite streaming services in one place for only $2 a day. That's live TV, movies, news, and classic TV series. Pay-per-view for only $2 a day. You can't get a cup of coffee for that. That's Q Broadcast, and you can do it today. They make it a breeze for you and your family to find something you all love. You can take Q Broadcast wherever you go. Start watching on your phone and seamlessly continue to your TV, iPad, laptop. With Q Broadcast and the app, you can watch on any device, whether you're on the road or flying to your next destination. Q Broadcast is compatible with most streaming devices and smart TVs, so you can enjoy your favorite shows and movies on the big screen. And for all the sports fans, Q Broadcast offers your favorite college and professional sports from around the world, providing the ultimate sports experience. Q Broadcast is the future of home entertainment. So say goodbye to cable and the limitations. Embrace the endless possibilities with Q Broadcast. Upgrade the Q Broadcast today and start enjoying the freedom to watch what you want, when you want, and where you want for only $2 a day. Q Broadcast. It changes everything. Go to QWithJustin.com to find out more and get your 15-day trial started today. That's QWithJustin.com.
And congratulations to Forrest Gibbs Sr., our winner today. As somebody who shared this program, we appreciate helping us break the algorithm. Forrest Gibbs Sr., want a copy of my book, Good News, Hope, and Encouragement for Trying Times? Forrest, just email me, Justin@justinbarclay.com.